All right, welcome to Dockside Dialog. I'm Devin Trout with Trout Supreme Seafood and Lighthouse Seafood and Deli. Today I have with me Greg Brown, the owner of Monocacy Brewing Company, Bentztown Restaurant, and Brewer's Alley, which are all been staples in Frederick for years. Welcome aboard, Greg.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
It's good to have you here. So we were shooting the shit earlier a little bit and going back and forth. I know I mentioned to you that I'd like to know more about you and kind of like your origin story a little bit. I didn't really know when you came to Frederick and I heard that Brewers was getting bought out. You know, I knew Phil had it for years. You know, hearing a little bit about you in St. Louis, so correct me if I'm wrong. Learn a little bit more about that, like how you kind of ended back up in Frederick. I've heard stories through the grapevines around Frederick about your restaurant endeavors. So if you could just fill us in a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just an old country boy from Missouri, trying to get by. Missouri's my home. Born and raised in the Midwest. Lived in Missouri, lived in Kansas, lived in Nebraska, lived in Illinois, but spent, a lot of years of my life in Southwest Missouri.
Okay.
My dad was in banking, so we moved a lot when I was in my growing up years, and we ended up in the St. Louis area on the Illinois side. So that's kind of, in my life, I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur. I was the kid in second grade, going to neighbor's house and mowing grass. I'm not sure if they even allow that today. But hey, back in I guess that would have been like the 90s, 20 bucks to mow a yard, using your dad's mower and his gasoline. I mean, it's pretty good money, right?
Yeah, right.
So one of those deals, I think, in high school, I think we topped out at we had like 30 lawns. We worked 2 days a week, and
nice.
We did all right doing that. Sometimes I think I should have just stayed in the lawn business. But growing up, the big push in that period of time was, I don't know about you guys, but my parents were always very adamant about going to college. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I went to college at Southwest. It's Missouri State University now, but Southwest Missouri State is what it was. I had a great time. I was a huge basketball player in high school. Most that know me would say I'm fairly competitive. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, some bodies are meant to keep playing basketball and some are not. Yeah. I was not. But I played in high school. I played AAU. I played a little bit in college. At Missouri State, and that was a lot of fun. At the same time, like in college, got a degree in accounting, minor in economics. That was at Missouri State, and then I got an MBA from Indiana University later on in my career. So I did that. Really didn't know coming out of school. I didn't know what I was going to do. My dad was a lawyer and a CPA. And that's what he did. That's how he was in banking. He was like over trust departments in banks, which I don't think trust departments even exist anymore. But back then, that's kind of that's what he did. I wanted to get a CPA and get a law degree, so I was going to go to law school. And my dad, after I graduated from Missouri State, I did the LSATs and I was accepted to law schools, and my dad finally cornered me and he's like, why do you want to be a lawyer? And I couldn't answer the question very well. And he made it very clear to me. He said, in his own words, which I won't use those on this podcast, but he said, if you want to go to law school and play around and get a law degree, you can, but I'm going to tell you right now, most lawyers that are successful are passionate about something in the law. Mm-hmm. And he's like, by all means, do what you want, but you're off my dime. So I was like, heard that. So that kind of crushed my law school dreams. And luckily, I was able to add good relationships with my professors in college. And one professor in the accounting area knew the head of the internal audit department at a small, like a $2 billion apparel company in St. Louis.
Small, $2 billion.
Well, $2 billion. I mean, 1.5, 2 billion. It was called Kellwood Company. They basically licensed. Through licenses agreements with like Calvin Klein, Polo, Ralph Lauren. They basically licensed, and through garment factories throughout the southern U.S. And also like in China, they made apparel. and distributed apparel.
So like Ralph Lauren and them would contract with them, give them their designs and stuff, and then they would.
Kellwood would actually buy. Kellwood would buy the brands.
Okay.
And then they would buy the brands, and then there was like an ongoing licensing agreement that you would pay to the brands. But
okay.
Kellwood, through contracts or internal, in some cases, would actually they would actually make the apparel, make the clothing, and distribute the clothing.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah, so that was so. Luckily, I had a good interview. You know, you get out of college and you think like going into the corporate world is going to be some exciting thing. I thought it was the most boring thing I'd ever done. Right? I mean, like they give you a laptop. The VP of audit. You know, he was like, Brown. He's like, here's what I need from you. I just need you to go audit like all these different businesses and garment factories and distribution centers. He's like, I just really don't want to see you in the office very much because that tells me you're not auditing anything. I'm like, okay. So I did that for like a year and a half. It was I mean, I was on the road 80, 90% of the time because I just wanted to make sure the VP was happy.
Yeah.
Made a lot of great contacts. I spent a lot of time in China, in very rural China, like Shenzhen and Shenzhen, China, Wuhan, China.
So what was that experience like for you?
It was, I mean, it was very...
From like the Midwest, and then now all of a sudden you're like in this whole different world. Yeah.
It was like the experience in China, it was, I always compared it to, if you went back into what was described as the Industrial Revolution of the United States, that was China, but with technology.
Okay.
So, I mean, I literally, like, again, I'm a young auditor. I go over there one time with an audit manager. He gets sick. We're like in, like my visa, like you would go into rural China for the week and then you could go back to Hong Kong, but my visa ran out or there was an issue with my visa or something. So the audit manager got sick on like day 2 of the audit.
Yeah.
So he left.
They
flew him back to the U.S. Nice. And the VP of audit called me. He was like, Greg, do you think you can handle this? And so I'm like, of course I can handle this, right? Yeah. So I spent like a month and a half in China, and I couldn't go back to Hong Kong to see the rest of the audit team because something happened with my visa. So I just stayed there, and I decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to soak this in, and you know, I had an interpreter with me.
Nice.
At the garment plant, but it was, for me, it was a very enlightening experience because the Chinese, everyone was so happy, and compared to what we've come to enjoy in the U.S. Again, this is like 2004, 2005, but even then, for what we enjoyed in the U.S., it's a very different life. Like these folks, they lived in dormitories. They asked if I would be interested in staying in a dormitory, so I said, sign me up, I'll stay in a dormitory. And I think they had I got to experience like the Chinese New Year at the factory with all the workers.
Oh, wow. So the dormitory is actually on site where the plant is, and everybody's living on site there.
Yeah, so they would work 6 days or 6 days in a row. No, they would work basically 2 weeks. They would work like 13 days straight, and then they would get on buses and go back to like their very rural like villages in China to see their family. And their whole thing was they would do that for like 10 or 14 years, and they would just save every dime.
Yeah, because you're living that it's a dormitory like on site and stuff. Yeah.
And then they would go back to their family. And that's what they did. And they were the nicest, like just the nicest people, the nicest culture. You know, I mean, I couldn't speak the language.
Yeah.
But I absorbed it, and I learned a lot. And I have a tremendous deal of respect for the Chinese culture and what I experienced.
Yeah.
Over there, because they, you know, everything's relative, right? But they had relatively speaking, so little, but everyone was so happy. So happy and gracious, and there was a very close ties of family and friends over there, and
it's more community driven over there.
Very community driven.
Yeah. I feel like we've lost sight of that.
Yeah, I mean that.
And ours, yeah.
And like the night, like you would go to the night markets, and it's like negotiation central. So I was like in heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just, you could buy like, it was just negotiation, and like the Chinese just loved it, and I loved it. So I would, like my downtime, I would just go to the market, like to the night markets and just negotiate. I brought like duffel bags home with stuff. Yeah. Like, but it was a great experience. You learned a lot about industry. You know, fast forward. When I was with Anheuser-Busch, I did the same thing with Anheuser-Busch, but it was with breweries. A little higher standard of living in the breweries, but again, it was a great time. It was, you know, huge dinners, just beer flowing everywhere. It was cool. It was a great experience, but I'll never forget, like after I was over there for a month and a half, you know, I remember, you know, because in China, again, we talk about global warming and pollution and things like that, and, you know, and again, you know, we can talk about that in energy policy, specifically in Maryland, right? You know, everyone's just getting cremated on energy rates because in Maryland, we've decided to shut down coal-fired power plants, and we've passed policy that basically tells any type of legacy power generation that you're not welcome in Maryland. And so now we have no power. I mean, rates are high for everybody. Yeah. But I think about that, it's like we're one world, right? And I remember like when you touch down in China, on a plane, like you don't see the runway, you see nothing but smog, like you see nothing, and then you touch down, you're like, you're here, and I remember, you know, that's how they run their factories, how they do things, and I remember coming back over and then popping through the clouds at LAX, and it's like you see green, you see the ocean. It was obviously a beautiful day, and we popped back through, but I remember that feeling of being proud, but I think grateful. For the opportunity that I had to be able to I think grow up in the U.S. And that for me really created a lot of pride and also appreciation. But it's just it makes you grateful for what you have. It also helps, I think, round you to seeing, you know, how the rest of the world works. Coming back to Maryland, one of my sayings is whoever wrote the rule. So I tend to question most everything.
Well, that's good, yeah. As you should, yeah.
But you got to wonder about that, because it's like, okay, well, we're not going to produce our own. We're going to double, triple, quadruple energy prices for every person living in Maryland, every business in Maryland, which obviously has to get passed through to our guests in some way, shape, or form. But we're okay importing energy from other coal-fired power plants. Yeah. And it goes back to, we're all one world. So appreciate the fact that we're, you know, we always want to try to do better, but I think there has to be, you know, there's got to be a bit of a balance.
There's got to be smarter ways. It's like before you throw the old out, maybe have a plan in place to replace the old with the new. Instead, they're like, we're just going to scrap that, and then here's the laws now, and everybody just, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just lack of strategy and master plan thinking.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are we going to do when we cut the power plants off? And I mean, it's, you know, to put the dollars and cents to it. If I combine, you know, Monocacy Brewing Company, Bentztown, Brewer's Alley, I mean, we're paying $50,000 more a year in electric than we were like a year ago.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I'm sure you see the same you see the same thing here, but it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. And
it just keeps going up, and now it's in the residential area now too, because they were just passing on to the commercial guys. And now I've noticed in my own personal electric bills, I'm like, well, that rate went from like 6 to like 15. I'm like, what is going on? And they're just passing it around.
So it's sad. I mean, I feel like there's some pretty simple solutions, but and it's just a cost it's unfortunately a cost to every Marylander and every taxpayer. So
correct. Yeah.
But anyway, going back to college, Kellwood Company. I did that for a year and a half. You know, you're young out of college. You know, I had a tremendous. I mean, I was on the road all the time auditing, and I thought like I really knew what I was doing. And I got antsy one day. I decided that I would put a application in to be an auditor to join the audit team at Anheuser-Busch. And Anheuser-Busch back then, that was before Anheuser-Busch got bought out by InBev.
InBev, okay.
So this was like, and in St. Louis, like if you worked for Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis, that was a big deal. You know.
So why did they sell to InBev anyways? I don't jump around, but
yeah, I mean, I think I think InBev came in and saw value. They saw value in the business, and they put a price out there that the shareholders there was no way that the shareholders. I can tell you, I can guarantee that. I mean, I don't think August the 3rd, who was August the 4th's father, I don't think August the 3rd. It's just, you know, the stock market and publicly traded companies. It's kind of a game, right? So they knew they had a huge price on the table. It was a significant premium to what the current stock price was trading at. And so, you know, I mean, the Bushes didn't own that much of the company at that point, so the stockholders had some control.
So what did the Bushes own at that point?
I mean, they owned a chunk. Over the years, they had, I think, sold off their shares, but I mean, they still owned a substantial amount of Anheuser-Busch, but it wasn't, they didn't have the voting control.
Gotcha, okay.
So
they kind of slowly just sold things off throughout the years as...
I think they sold stock and... and things like that. But that was, I went to Anheuser-Busch in 2006, and I learned real quick that, okay, now I am playing with, like, these people know what they're doing. I mean, my first, like, 3 or 6 months as an auditor in Anheuser-Busch, I was about to get fired. I think I was not doing well in my, I just wasn't. I mean, I was with people who were 10, like I was by far probably the youngest person on the audit staff, and I was working with people 10, 15 years my senior. Yeah. And these people, like, I look back at that time and I learned, like, I remember one time I went home, looked myself in the mirror, and I was like, all right, Greg, you've got to buck up and you got to get your stuff together. Yeah. Because we're not going to fail. We're going to figure it out. And Anheuser-Busch it was an awesome culture. The original Anheuser-Busch. I mean, it was a work hard, play hard. It was kind of old school, which I kind of liked. Like,
he doesn't like
our
that.
VP of audit, man, he was like, he was a guy that you just, like, he walked in and you respected him. He was kind of like August the 3rd, who was very, like, very direct. But I mean, the expectations and the standards in that company were so high, and I had a great deal of respect for that. Like, you walk through an Anheuser-Busch brewery, I mean, it's like spotless. It was to the point, like, if August the 3rd walked through and something was off, like, the plant manager might get fired, like, on the spot. Yeah. But that's we don't do business like that anymore. But you also saw the standards, you saw the pride that came out of that, and you also saw, I mean, there's a professional adult component. Like, we're going to battle to win every day. And in St. Louis, I was younger, right? But if you saw someone drinking a Miller Lite at a bar, like, you went over and you bought them a Budweiser or a Bud Light, and I mean, you could come to fists, come to blows over this stuff. It was cool. I mean, it was a good time. I learned a lot, and it's interesting because through that process, I mean, once you're with Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis, with how that company was and how it was perceived, it was like, no matter where you are in the company, if you pay your dues and play your cards right, you're going to do well. You're going to do well. And if you weren't, the good thing about the Anheuser-Busch culture, if you weren't very good, you were not going to be there. Like, they were not going to tolerate you. It's one of those things that goes into culture, right? You surround yourself, you become who you choose to surround yourself with. And
you're only as good as the people around you,
And Anheuser-Busch was not, they would not accept mediocrity. They wanted greatness. And I still reflect on my experiences with Anheuser-Busch to this day. And the work hard, the play hard, the fun, the learnings that I had. And that was the first time, like, in my career that I was put in a position where, I mean, I'm on a performance improvement plan.
Oh, wow. You got put on one. You're like, oh, shit.
But it was warranted. It just, it was one of those things. It was like, you don't question it, you don't make excuses, you fix it.
Just fix it.
And if you don't fix it, you're out.
See you later.
And
I'm guessing you fixed it.
Huh?
Did you fix it?
I did.
Okay.
I left on good terms. But, in that process, when I was with Anheuser-Busch, I also moved. I've lived in an apartment a little bit west of St. Louis, and I moved downtown because I bought a 3-family townhome because my objective back then is like, hey, if I can find a way to buy this house in Soulard, which is a historic area of St. Louis, literally in the shadows of the Anheuser-Busch,
Oh, nice.
the Anheuser-Busch brewery and the corporate headquarters. I was like, hey, if I can do this, like I can rent out the first floor, I rent out the third floor, and I can live on the second floor, and I'll live rent free and make a couple $100 a month versus having to spend any money on living, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I did that. I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. So in that, my little 3-family row home that I lived in Soulard, I walked to work. I mean, I traveled a lot with Anheuser-Busch too. So with Anheuser-Busch, I mean, auditing. The cool thing about internal auditing is you learn so much about everything. I mean, I audited breweries, I audited theme parks, I audited wholly owned distributors.
So you're auditing everything they own.
Yeah, you learn.
That's pretty wild.
The ins and outs of the business. I audited turf. I mean, they own like huge like turf farms, which I think they just actually sold that property like a few weeks, like a month ago. I read in the paper. But they would use that because that's how they use their brewery wastewater. Is they would water the turf and then they would sell the turf. But anyway, that was a whole different. That was a whole different thing. But I audited it.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, you audited everything in the Anheuser-Busch realm of thing. Marketing agencies, you audit marketing agencies. It was cool. It was fun. Traveling, probably 50-60% of the time. But when I was in town, there was a small little restaurant and bar that was like 3 doors down from my house. So convenience. And I've said work hard, play hard a lot, and I am honored to put my hand up. I love beer. I just love beer. I've been drinking beer. I think I probably started sneaking Budweiser beer out of my dad's refrigerator when I was 12 years old. I just think beer is. I mean, it's a phenomenal beverage. I think if you look back it's a shame that obviously beer's on a downward trajectory right now and continues to be.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I think beer brings people together. Beer is a beverage of moderation. I mean, the ABV in beer is much lower than if you're choosing to drink whiskey or bourbon or vodka.
Oh, anything
it does,
else,
I think it does a little less damage to your body. I'm a little older now, so sometimes it feels a little, you can feel it takes a little more of a toll on you if you drink the heavy stuff than when you were like in your early 20s than when you're 44.
It all changes, But
I think just the social dynamics behind a beer, like let's go have a beer. It's it's informal, it's relaxing. It tells people like, want to be your friend. Let's go enjoy company. Let's go share a beer over it. And to me, that means a lot because I think that's where we need to be as a society. It's a shame that we can't encourage more people in society, no matter where they stand, if we're on this side or this side, like, why don't we just go have a beer and talk about it? And I think beer it's always going to be a fabric of our society. I think it's important. I think beer's been around for thousands of years. It ebbs and flows. I mean, I'm hoping that we're kind of we're at the bottom. Hopefully we're closer to the trough and it starts to tick back up a bit. But beer's great. But going back to St. Louis, right? I mean, I lived and breathed beer. Not craft beer like I'm doing now, but I mean, I was born and raised in St. Louis, right? So Anheuser-Busch is everywhere. So this little restaurant and bar, I used to walk by it. A young guy ended up acquiring it. Had been a lot of different restaurants, bars, right? In and out of business. And this guy, God rest his soul, I think he's probably still going, but he literally in the industry, you got to be careful. You have to, and one thing that I always look at is I look at restaurants and bars and breweries, like, there's a lot of fun around them. But as in anything, I look at it, it's a business. Exactly. It's a business first. It's great.
I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake. They get involved in restaurants thinking it's going to be, and then they end up, going down that path of.
So he got sucked up. He snorted away all his profits, is what I like to say. He also made a lot of neighbors really, really mad at him through the process. But it was very convenient to my house, and so I went there frequently. Got to know the entire team, the bartenders really well, and like I said earlier, I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur and a dreamer, right? That's just who I am. It's just kind of it is what I like to do. And so, I'm, in the restaurant bar, and one day, I think we were there having lunch or beers or something, and one of the bartenders was like, Greg, like, we're going to lose this place. Like, the gentleman that owns it's off his rocker, and, like, it's not good. It's like, why don't, they're like, you should buy this bar.
They're having a sandwich and a beer.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah.
So you're at first you kind of like start off laughing about
Yeah.
it. Like we were literally joking, like with my buddies from
Yeah.
like, at Anheuser-Busch, like you had a crew of people that, everyone hung out. We had a good time, right? The fun thing about Anheuser-Busch back then is like, you got in early, you went to lunch, you had some beers. Sometimes you went back to the office, sometimes you didn't. But you got your work done. As long as you got your work done, no one cared.
Nobody cared.
But it was a cool culture because it wasn't like it is today. Like, you can't, it's always, people look at it as, oh, a beer at lunch while you're working. Like, come on, have a beer at lunch. Like, again, that's good. I wish we could bring back the 2 martini lunch. Right? It'd be good for everybody. People would be a little more,
a little bit better,
a little loose, right? A little looser, a little happier, maybe. But that's not where we are, right? Society right now. So you, kind of have to adhere to the rules. But, it was a great culture. We're literally joking about this restaurant and bar, and in my mind, I'm like, maybe I could do this. So I talked to the bartenders, and I'm like, here's the deal, because I don't know anything about restaurants and bars aside from the fact that, I am a good customer. I'm good. I think I do a really nice job, right? So literally, this took like 2 or 3 months because I didn't have really any money. And so for about 2 to 3 months, the bartenders every night would collect the register ring. Like they would print me out the another copy of like the little Z report, which in the register, it was like this.
Exactly. There you go.
So the little auditor in me, right? So I do research. I start researching. Like luckily I have a pretty good idea of what Anheuser-Busch is selling beer to wholesalers for.
Yeah,
that's pretty easy. I've got data on that. So I just start plugging stuff into a spreadsheet, and I come up with a spreadsheet. I'm like, well, you know what? This doesn't look horrible. And by this time, the gentleman who owned the bar, he was in jail, and his dad was a retired firefighter, really nice guy. Again, didn't know anything about restaurants, but he was in running the business, right? Poor guy, like,
He's like fire, man.
This is a small restaurant and bar, right? This is not what a 65-year-old retired firefighter wants to be doing. And so I got the information, I was able to negotiate a deal with the owner through his father. This was a weird deal. I'm a huge Lake of the Ozarks. I forgot about that. Like I love Lake of the Ozarks. I like Table Rock Lake. I used to be a huge boater. And so I had a boat. I had a car that was paid for. I think I had like a Jeep, which was a big piece of junk. But anyway, I went to the Anheuser-Busch Employees Credit Union, and I was able to basically get a lien on every single thing I owned, in addition to a little bit of equity that I had in my little house. And they were willing to loan me half of the amount of what the bar was going to cost.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then I had another individual. So at the same time we're doing this, like there's the prohibition 3-tier systems. There's a rule, you can't own a bar and work at a brewery. So like I said, I always ask the question, whoever wrote the rule, right?
Yeah.
So technically I worked for Anheuser-Busch Companies, which was a holding company.
Okay.
I didn't work for Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, which was
the
breweries. So I'm following the process, right? I'm keeping my VP in the loop. I'm working with the state of Missouri. I'm doing this above board. I'm not doing anything behind the scenes. So everyone seems like on board with it. I never got an official document saying that you could do it, but everyone's like, yeah, Greg, one, you're an idiot. That was a pretty common theme. But if you want to do this, I guess you can, but you're never going to be able to, you can't leave Anheuser-Busch companies.
Yeah.
You can't go work for the brewery division or anything like that, right? So I'm going through, and another individual who I worked with at Anheuser-Busch, we were going to partner on it. And so we're getting ready to do the deal. And this is like on a Thursday. And the gentleman who I was going to partner with, he had the other half of the money. So everything's going good. As a courtesy, I sent an email to the head of audit, the VP of audit. I said, hey, just wanted to make sure everything's squared away. I'm going to need a few hours off, take a few hours vacation on Friday because we're going to close this deal. And so I didn't hear anything back from him until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And the other gentleman happened to be off that day. And he's like, and basically his email was, in my office at 2 o'clock. That's it. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
something must have not gone well.
Yeah.
And the other gentleman wasn't there. And then my cubicle was around the VP's office, so I could hear him yelling and screaming. And it's like, I don't care where he is. Put him in a taxi and get him here. I want him and Brown in my office at 2 o'clock. Like just yelling, like, I don't care, get him here. So we're in his office and he is fired up. And all of a sudden, like the script changed. He's like, this is a big, big deal. I can't believe you guys would do this. And I mean, it is not going well. So he's like, this is gonna have to go to strategy committee, which that is the board of directors.
Okay.
Like, and I'm like, auditor 50 in this huge company.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And so the gentleman that was going to get involved, he backed out. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not walking away from my job. Heard that. So we get out of there. I'm not feeling real good because I'm obviously in some trouble, or I feel like I'm in trouble. And so then I'm literally dialing on the phone. So I find like basically a loan shark. Because I had to close at 9 in the morning on Friday. So at 2 a.m., I'm on the phone with people that you probably don't want to do business with.
Yeah.
So at 2 a.m., finally, like okay, we'll do it, and here's the terms and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, let's just get it done. So I go 9 a.m. on Friday, close the deal. So I had so I go back to work, finish my day, and I'm at the restaurant and bar, and literally like that's the day the deal closed. There's all kinds of little things happening on the liquor license front and all this stuff. Like this is the one deal I didn't use a lawyer, I didn't use an accountant, I do all of it myself. I would never ever do that.
Yeah.
So we got a deal done, and I remember Friday evening I was freaking out because I was obviously in trouble at Anheuser-Busch, and
You own a bar now.
I own a restaurant. I own a restaurant and bar.
Yeah.
And I literally, because in St. like everything had to be COD because they didn't know anything about me. So I had on I think Friday, maybe April 8th of 2008 or something like that. I had $50 in my personal account and I had $50 in my business account. Once we paid for the beer and the food that we had to have for the weekend. So I'm kind of like, okay.
Okay, here we go.
I go back, I'm at the same time I'm doing this, I'm like reflecting on like, what am I gonna do with Anheuser-Busch, right? At the same time, like my parents are on the phone, like you need to see a psychologist, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. In addition to that, like once you do the deal, like I'm leaving on Sunday because I have to go to do an audit of a distributor. Like I'm going to like Manitowoc, Wisconsin. I don't know where I'm going. So I'm in the office on Saturday preparing for my audit trip, and as I was actually writing my resignation letter. And so the VP happened to be there. Old school, right?
Yeah.
Always working,
all the
right?
time,
Always in the office. And I respect that. I respect people that grind like that. So I knew he was there. I had to go to the bathroom, and he's in the bathroom. So we're literally he's at the urinal, I'm at the urinal, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? He was like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh boy, this is not good.
Got a resignation letter in your hand. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm preparing for the audit. So we obviously finished our bathroom break. I went, finished the letter. He was still there. Wasn't planned to be that way, but I as I thought about it, I went in there and I was like, hey, I'm not going to say his name, but it's like, hey, I didn't mean for this to come to this. I don't want to create because you're thinking like, I'm a little auditor. Like if you do that in a company and create that much tension, because apparently I found out that no one in Anheuser-Busch, like people had threatened a lot, not threatened, but had the idea, but they never did it. I was the first one to ever actually go do it. Buy a bar.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I went and hand delivered my resignation. Obviously the tone totally changed. Everything was good. Such a great conversation. He was very grateful. He's like, well, we'll give you a little severance package, but why don't we just have you go ahead and can we move that resignation letter to today?
Yeah.
Which was fine. I'm like, I
Yeah.
totally understand. Not a big deal. They found that, they replaced me on the audit team going to
Wisconsin. or whatever.
So we shook hands. I came in on, was just coming on Monday, get your stuff, cleared up my desk on Monday. That's where the story is like, I bought a restaurant bar on a Friday, and I resigned from Anheuser-Busch on Saturday. And it actually it worked out well.
Obviously,
I think you never want to. One of my things, you never intentionally ever want to do anyone bad, anyone wrong. And I don't think that, like I said, I was such a little person on the totem pole. Like, why in the world would Anheuser-Busch? If you think about it now, it's like, why would Anheuser-Busch take any gamble on me, right?
Yeah,
they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I resigned. A little bit of a severance to get me out of the gate, worked my tail off over the next 3 months. Anheuser-Busch, as Anheuser-Busch is, lots of happy hours at the restaurant and bar in St. Louis.
Great.
They helped. They indirectly supported
they
me.
Came there.
They helped get the, they helped me out, right?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the $50 in the personal and the business account that we started with on that Friday, it obviously grew. It grew a bit over time. I was 2 or 3 months in. We had the restaurant bar turned around. I had the city of St. Louis, the liquor board, everyone was back on our side. They were happy with me. Like, I literally had to have like VPs of Anheuser-Busch sending me character reference letters.
Oh, wow.
Because it was like, you're literally like a cowboy going out there trying to, you're just shooting from the hip, trying to figure out how to get it done. The neighbors were starting to come around.
Yeah.
There was like this garden that I'm mowing the garden and taking care of the garden. I'm doing all this stuff, right? I'm literally, I had to go door to door to get signatures for liquor licenses. And it was some of it was challenging. But long story short, we started there. We got the restaurant bar turned around. In 3 months, things were working well. I think I had the loan shark paid off in like 6 months. And, at 3 months in, I was having way too much fun. But I also knew it was a small restaurant and bar.
Yeah.
A lot of potential, but it was also one of those deals. It was like, well, you're never where are you gonna go from here? Like, what are you gonna do? And it was also the restaurant and bar was in these two, pretty much vacant but beautiful old buildings. So really the strategy of buying the restaurant and bar was to find a way to buy the buildings.
Buy the buildings.
Because basically my landlord was a slumlord.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you'd have some people would sneak into the buildings and live there for a while. They did go to the restaurant bar and drink.
So that worked out.
But the objective was I wanted to amass enough money initially to be able to afford to buy the buildings, because I had a big plan for the buildings. So 3 months in, I'm having way too much fun. You could imagine, what was I, 24, 25?
Yeah.
And I own a small restaurant bar in Soulard, which for those that don't know,
rolling.
Soulard in French means walking drunkard. So there's
okay, so
there is a community and a culture at Soulard.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
That's interesting, yeah.
I'm friends with everybody, right?
Yeah.
We're having a blast. Again, I knew that, I was like, this is not, like, I'm not done yet. I want to keep growing. I want to keep doing things. So a friend of mine that worked for Nestle, Anheuser-Busch, and then the acquisition, InBev acquired Anheuser-Busch like 2 or 3 months after I left.
Oh, wow. So
the whole thing,
the
house of cards kind of came winding down, and they changed the thing. So looking back at it,
you got out.
Yeah, because InBev, again, it's a global company, but they changed the culture.
They always do.
So a friend of mine from Nestle called, Nestle Purina, which was also in St. Louis. He's like, hey man, they got an audit supervisor position opening up here at Nestle. I brought up your name. I don't know if you want to get back into the corporate thing or not. And I was like, well, let's do an interview.
Yeah.
So went down, interview went well. They offered me the job. So basically, I had in 3 months, I had a gentleman that agreed to basically run the restaurant and bar for me. I got back in the corporate world. I got back into auditing.
Okay.
And so, again, with the whole strategy of creating additional free cash flow so I could eventually amass enough to actually have a real play and buy the real estate. Fast forward, that was probably, I worked for, trying to think. So Nestle, I did the audit, out of St. Louis. So it's kind of similar to Anheuser-Busch, really. You're auditing ice cream plants. I audited the Libby's pumpkin plant in Illinois. I mean, I went to Canada. I went, went all over the place, auditing anything.
So the Purina too, that's the dog food, right?
Yeah, but they just stored, I was Nestle USA.
Okay.
But they just had the audit department in St. Louis.
That's big business, that dog food. I've realized.
Huge.
It's huge business.
Huge. I mean,
it's crazy.
I audited cat litter plants in Maricopa, California.
That's
I mean,
wild.
you name it, I've probably audited it.
Yeah.
So we did that. I did that for a year and a half out of St. Louis. It was, again, a good time, right? I mean, you own a restaurant and bar, lots of happy hours when we were in town at the restaurant and bar. It was cool. The VP of audit, great guy, still with Nestle. He's like, he's a heavy breather in Nestle these days, but he was an awesome guy. And he taught me so much. And he had this, so Anheuser-Busch, obviously got off my performance blueprint. I improved myself a lot as an auditor. I sat and became a certified internal auditor before I left Anheuser-Busch. And so I grew a lot as a person and professionally and making myself better at what I did. And then when I was at Nestle just further drove me to improve. And they liked me. I mean, I led, a lot of the more challenging audits. And I was the type of person, they knew I would do anything, right? I was brought up to, like, if you want to progress in the world, you got to be the first one in, you got to be the last one out, and you got to work harder than everyone around you. And I'll say this day, like, I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I don't know if there's many that are going to outwork me.
Yeah.
And I keep that with me day in and day out. And so, but the VP of Nestle audit, he had a saying on his glass office or whatever. It said, "In God we trust, all others bring data." and I live and breathe that, right?
Yeah.
It's not opinions, it's not subjective, it's not emotional, it's not how you feel, it's data. Data is how you make decisions. And that's always stuck with me, but had a great run. So a year and a half in, I'm auditing this. There was an ice cream plant. So Nestle owned Edie's, Dreyer's ice cream. There was an ice cream plant in Fort Wayne, Indiana, that they were on the audit schedule, and I was the audit lead supervisor on that audit. And we did a pre-visit. The plant manager requested a pre-visit. We went up there, looked at some things. They had some opportunities. And as I was getting ready to go to the official audit, so Nestle audits were like 3 weeks in the field, right? Jeez. So the audit, like a week before our first day in our audit, Nestle transferred the plant manager to another plant, and the controller resigned. Not good.
Yeah.
So the audit starts. That's not a good audit. It is not a good audit. And so we persevered through the audit. Some great people at the plant. There was a new plant manager that came in. Again, great deal of respect for her. She taught me so much. But so long story short, at the end of this disastrous audit, I mean, it was like, I forget all the different opinions, but it was like the lowest opinion you can get. Usually we get the lowest opinion you can get. I mean, there's like a lot of behind the scenes politics going on, because like if the mothership in Switzerland finds out, like it is like, we're the government, we're here to help. We're corporate and we're here to help.
Yeah.
You're gonna get help.
Yeah.
So it was a bad audit. We finished the closeout meeting. I'm wrapping up my stuff. The new plant manager comes in. She's like, "Greg," she didn't really ask me. She's just like, "I need you to be our controller." So I'm like, okay, I've never been a controller.
Yeah, so what does a controller do?
So plant controller, that's like the head finance person at the plant.
Gotcha.
Right. So you're basically, I'm the co-pilot of the plant manager.
So why did the previous controller leave?
There was I won't go into that, but there was major issues that were found during the audit that would have.
So that was why he asked for the pre-audit to come in.
In typical corporate way, it's like, I'm sure the conversation went something to the tune of like, we can fire you today, or we can fire you tomorrow, or you can resign today. Yeah. It's whichever way you want to go. Mm-hmm. But this is your last day type thing. So he probably chose to resign. Yeah. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't know. After the audit, there was some things going on. But so like this plan is long story short, I accept the controller position. I leave St. Louis. I still own the restaurant and bar.
Okay.
Moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's where the plant was. The plant is in rough shape, and this plant manager, like, she really took me under her wing. And looking back at it, the reason she offered me the job is she, one of her things she always told me, and she's like, Greg, I don't need any help. I don't need a controller that's just going to sit in their office and look at spreadsheets. I don't need help knowing if this plant's doing well or bad. Like, I know if the plant's doing well or bad. I don't need someone to sit here and crunch numbers. I need a controller that actually understands where the numbers come from. So going back, I'm like, all right, like, I get what you're telling me. So I chose, and there was also an assistant plant manager there, and she was a firecracker. She's still a friend of mine. Both those ladies are friends of mine to this day, but I mean, they rode me hard. And I worked third shift. I went and learned how to make ice cream. I learned every part of that plant. And I spent more time on the floor making ice cream in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And I learned it, but it was really cool because she pushed me to do that. She was a big, like, total process management, TPM, 5S, all that stuff. And she taught me a lot and like a ton. And I was, luckily through that, I get it, right? Like, I knew as much about how the plant operated. Like, spreadsheets were really easy because I'm like, I actually know how the numbers get here. I know
you
what has to happen.
understand from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what has to happen. So we were like the last place plant. They have every year, I don't know if they still do, but there used to be an award called the Best in the Nest. Mm-hmm. So in a year and a half, we went from the worst in the nest to like the best in the nest. And
Yeah.
You get to go to New Orleans. It's big. They go to different places.
Fun.
But
yeah.
So we went from the worst to the best. We got the plant going, and like the other plant. So I'm slowly getting to how I got to Maryland. So that was in like 2009, I think. By that point in my career.
So the bar's still going.
Bar's still going.
Though.
Restaurant and bar is still going. It's going fine. It's probably could be doing better, but I'm not there. That's a choice I made.
Yeah. So
we were. I think that So 2009. Then I had So long story short, year and a half in. The ice cream division, we were close. So I was close with like the leadership of the ice cream division, and it was a turnaround division. It was really challenging. Nestle acquired that division. I think that they thought the numbers were a lot better. They weren't. So it was one of those deals that you got to get it to margin up. And so the controller, who kind of became a mentor of mine at the ice cream plant, it was the largest ice cream plant in the world at that time, which is in Laurel, Maryland. So the controller, there's the Nestle. It's not Nestle anymore. I think Nestle recently sold all of their interest to, I think, a PE firm that basically acquired their ice cream business from them in the USA.
Laurel, Maryland had the biggest ice cream plant?
In the world.
In the world?
Yeah. Whiskey Bottom Road. I'm like a year and a half in. The controller at the ice cream plant in Laurel, he's getting promoted to a corporate finance role and moving. The ice cream headquarters was in California. So he's moving to California, and so there was a spot. And so I was promoted to the controller of that ice cream plant, which was not doing very well, and having some of the similar challenges. So I did that. We're working on, turning that plant around. And the plant manager there, awesome guy, great guy, old school, and very sharp, engineer degree. And so I went there and I partnered with him. We're on the plant, and he just didn't. I don't know if he meshed well with the Nestle culture that they wanted, and so I became very close also with the VP of manufacturing for the ice cream division. Really great guy, and I got a phone call. I was like 6-7 months in, well, maybe 8 or 9 months into my run at the Laurel, the Nestle.
So now you've moved.
Yeah, I relocated in 2009. I think into 2009 to Maryland. Got a little apartment in Rockville.
Nice.
I didn't know anything about Maryland, but I was able to figure it out. So started at the plant. And it was really, Nestle invested millions and millions of dollars in automated lines for doing. This plant, the Nestle ice cream plant in Laurel. Haagen-Dazs, the Edie's ice cream in the 48-ounce containers, the conva cans is what they call them.
How much ice cream are they producing a year out of there?
a lot. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, skinny cow. I mean, just automation. I mean, and when the automation doesn't go well and it's high speed lines, it's just like you're just piling up money.
Yeah, I've seen
everywhere.
Videos,
like it's disaster. So that was kind of what happened to the Laurel ice cream plants. They put all this automation and new lines in, and it was just a disaster. But long story short, got out there, started working on things with the plant manager. I was like, I think I was maybe I was a year in. I don't know, because I was there for like almost 2 years probably. I got a call, one early or late on a Friday night from the VP of manufacturing, and he's like, Greg, he's like, I need you to be at the plant at 6 a.m. tomorrow. He's like, this is confidential. We're terminating the plant manager. And it's like, and I need you there as the controller to basically help him box up his things and walk him out.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. That's just,
love it.
And he was like, he'd become like a really good friend of mine too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that was like, I mean,
you're gonna do it.
And he was so passionate. I mean, he's doing phenomenal. It was the best thing in the world that could happen to him, because he went off and
did other things.
And just,
yeah,
he's doing phenomenally. So I'm like, sure. So I'm there at 6 a.m. The VP of manufacturing's there. They do it, and then the guy that gets to walk him out. Like he was kind of teared up. I was literally like, I try to be tough, but I was like teared up because I was really it was hard for me. That was hard.
Yeah.
So I walk back in, and the VP's there, and he's like, congratulations. He's like, we're gonna need you to be the plant manager. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Okay.
So we had I was not gonna be the long-term plant manager, but they
needed somebody in the interim.
They needed someone in the interim, and then they had a big time guy that had been with Nestle for years that knew the Nestle way to come in and basically took the reins as a plant manager. We had a phenomenal relationship, but we turned the plant around. I mean, we turned the plant around in 6, 8, 10 months, got it going.
Situated.
And then Nestle kind of came to me and they indirectly said, hey, we really like what you're doing. We're so happy with you. But they also made it clear that, like, in order for me, like, they wanted me to be on the, whatever they called it, the officer's track or the high potential track or whatever. But they're like, you need to, to do this, you got to have an expat assignment. So at this point in my life, I was like 30 years old. And I also met my now wife, who's a Maryland girl.
So
All this is like, so I met I was dating my wife at that point, Anne, who's grew up in Emmitsburg, Maryland. So
she's in Emmitsburg?
She's in Emmitsburg, Jubilee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Jubilee, by the way.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Good seafood there.
So where did she go to high school then?
Catoctin.
Okay. Well, no, so she graduated
2007, probably.
Oh, okay. 6, so I graduated 2006 from Walkersville, so. Yeah, funny.
So Ann Gamble
Small
was her maiden
world.
name. Now she's Ann Brown. But,
yeah.
So we, where were we here? So that happened. So Nestle was like, you want to be and we need you to go do a tour of duty. And Nestle, the joke was, it's like, 2 years in Nestle's eyes can be a decade of expatness.
Yeah.
And I think I was just right about 30. And for me, I was in love. And I also, for me, from a value standpoint, I always, I wanted to find the right one. I wanted to be able to settle down. I wanted to have kids. That was important to me. And I also knew, on the other end of me, I'm very business focused.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I did the expat thing, it'd be great, but I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back to the U.S. in 10 years and be 40 years old, and then some of the important parts of my life might not happen or might be significantly delayed. So,
where'd they want you to go?
They didn't disclose that, but you can go anywhere. I mean, anywhere Nestle operates, which is, Nestle's a global company, so
they were just like, look, we're gonna ship you out somewhere, and
there was no specificity.
Yeah,
It was just
like, we'll
they just let
later.
me know that they thought I was doing really well and that I needed to get on a expat track to continue growing.
Yeah, I would get it.
So I didn't like that. So luckily, a recruiter of mine owned a recruiting company in St. Louis. I reached out to him and I just kind of was like, hey, keep me posted if you see anything. So pretty quickly, as the recruiters typically do, there was this very small company compared to Nestle. Right? Nestle was like $100 billion when I was there. I think they're smaller now, but company called Treehouse Foods, private label food company out of Chicago, Oak Brook. So they had a dressing. They created a position in the dressings division, which was, I think the title was like group controller. It was like a $500 or $600 million division.
Division.
So it was like, I think we had like 7 or 8 plants and like distribution in Mexico and Canada. But they had gone through a lot of acquisitions recently, and the mothership plant, if you will, was in Northeast Pennsylvania, which is by Erie.
Okay.
And the plant was struggling. And a lot of it was because of a kind of a derailment of focus because of all the acquisitions the division had done. And so they kind of created a position because like the president of the division was a great guy. Again, I'm fortunate because I've had some really great people in my life to kind of like mentor me and show me. But turned out he was the guy that created private label salad dressing in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
So I think he grew the business on his own. Mm-hmm. He got it. He found a way. I think his first big contract was like Wegmans. So he started private label salad dressing for Wegmans.
Yeah.
And that's how he got going.
Yeah.
And he got bought out by private equity. He stayed on as a retainer, and then another like E.D. Smith, which is a dressings company that used to be in Canada, acquired that company. So long story short, he went full circle and ended up right back at the plant that he sold, but working as the head of the division for Treehouse Foods. So I'm interviewing with this guy, and this guy is like, I mean, he's an entrepreneur. Like in the corporate world, he's like a bull in a china shop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he is an entrepreneur, and they're okay with it. He's the only head of a division that doesn't have to be, I call it in the corporate head shed in Oak Brook, Illinois. Like he's like, because I'm not doing that. I'm going to be right here.
This is where I'm going to be. Yeah.
So I was kind of he was kind of the guy that made it rain, and I kind of made the raindrops fall where they were supposed to.
Yeah.
So we had a great partnership in that business. He was also a huge foodie. And so we're growing. This is like 2013. In 2012, I forgot. So in 2012, going back then, I was able to amass enough money to acquire the real estate in St. Louis.
So then you buy the whole building there.
So I got a little restaurant bar. I was able to acquire the real estate. So in parallel to all this, I'm researching, because it's a historic building, so I'm working on tax credits and all this stuff. So what did you end up doing with that building? So we'll just focus on that. So basically, I invested a lot of money into it. I turned it around. We totally redid the restaurant and bar.
Okay.
And then we created 4. There was 2 buildings basically kind of connected, but there's a second floor, third floor. So we renovated it to like 4 nice apartments in one building.
Oh, nice.
4 like 2 1-bedroom and then 2 townhome style apartments, 3-bedroom apartments in the other building. So renovated them.
Yeah.
Went through and figured out the tax credits. Took me forever. That was a disaster, but that was one of those, learned a lot, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you always learn in those experiences.
So, but we got in that project. We actually didn't finish the project until like 2016. But I was still working with Treehouse Foods in my corporate.
So you were still this whole time working with Treehouse Foods.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I was managing this project from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
So that was, I mean, it was fun, right? We got the building done, apartments rented out. I mean, the project went well. I've also, I did millions and millions of dollars of projects with Treehouse Foods, with Nestle.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, like in 2014, the head of the division, he's a huge foodie. And one thing about Erie, like the dining scene was not great in Erie.
Yeah.
So he knew that I had a restaurant. And he, I think we both realized that, but he was like, well, at least you obviously got to know what you're doing because you haven't run out of business yet. So I kind of helped him get a restaurant in Erie, Pennsylvania, or Northeast Pennsylvania out of the gate. And for him, he was a foodie. He just wanted a place close to his home that he could get really good food.
Yeah.
So we started that as kind of fun, great little business. And as we approached 2017, he was turning 50, and he brought me into his office. He always called me Brownie. He said, Brownie. He's like, hey man, just give me the heads up. I'm getting out of this. He's like, I'm tired of it. I want to go do something else. I'm done with the corporate thing. Like, I just want to go do something else. I'm like, all right. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Because we had a really good relationship. He was a fun guy. And so basically in 2017, he said, hey, man, he's like, you want to jump off the entrepreneurial cliff? Let's go do something. I'm like, okay. So let's figure it out. So long story short, I resigned from Treehouse Foods, and we put up like 6 restaurants in 14 months.
What?
Yeah, it's a big lift. And then we also acquired a commercial food service equipment company 2 weeks before COVID happened. So
are all these restaurants in Pennsylvania?
3 were in Pennsylvania. The 3 other ones, which going back, we probably wouldn't have done that again. It was we were a franchisee, so we bought into a franchise.
Okay.
And we put up 3 restaurants for them. That was probably, looking back at it, we should have stuck with our independent ones, maybe not done that. But
you mind me asking like what the franchises were that you guys bought into?
So Core Life Eatery.
Okay.
I don't even think it's around anymore.
Yeah.
It was a new one. It was one of those ones that could blow up and do really well, or it could not. And I don't think it. I'm not even sure if it's around anymore. But it was challenging. I mean, looking back at it, I should have been more knowledgeable about important things like, leases, occupancy rates, execution. How are you going to get the food out? How are you going to what kind of costs and things are McDonald's running, and different fast casuals and things like that. And those were things that, I mean, hindsight's 20/20.
Exactly.
You don't. Some of the stuff we saw, we were like, it's a lot there. It seems like a lot, but we didn't really. I should have done a better job of due diligence. We didn't. And so, long story short, I think that those didn't work out that well. The independents did really well for us. And then, so that's happening, obviously. But when I resigned so Treehouse was cool. In 5 years, we ran that. We had like a $500 and $600 million division. In 5 years, we went from 500 to 600 million to like 1.5 billion.
Oh, so they were tickled.
That was.
Yeah,
we had a good run.
Yeah, you had a good run. Yeah.
So then we did the restaurants, and psychologically speaking, I went like 2 years without a paycheck. It was a grind, and it was you're just. I mean, you want to be an entrepreneur, you better be ready to grind. And obviously, my wife and I are having kids. We're being pretty productive in the downtime. So 3 boys.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They'll be 11, 9, and 7 this year.
Okay, so they're all close in age. That's good.
Yeah, and so the family aspect of it. So we're doing our thing in Erie. We're growing. COVID happens. That's just a total disaster
especially for restaurants.
Yeah, that was.
So you guys had the restaurants during COVID.
We had the restaurants, and we acquired this commercial food service equipment company during COVID. We also helped to build a food hall during COVID. But we had to get really creative, and that's one of those moments where it's just, COVID was, I don't think people, when you own a business, and it's tough, man. You just don't.
Yeah.
I remember
trying to keep with food costs. It was every day.
Well, trying to figure out trying to figure out how to sell.
How to sell something.
Yeah, we found some innovative and creative things to do where we partnered with people that kept us from going probably down the tubes.
Oh yeah.
But COVID was crazy. But let's not talk about that. That's not very fun. But so we got through COVID, and in September of 21, my wife, again, my father-in-law passed away. And so my wife, they still have a farm in Emmitsburg. And so just from a family standpoint, and my wife reminded me one day, she said, hey, I know you guys are growing all these businesses, and I know what you're going to keep doing. You're going to keep acquiring businesses. She's like, but were we going to get back to Maryland at some point? I'm like,
she's like, because I really liked it there.
So I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I was trying to connect the dots, and I'm like, sounds like we were going to try to get back to Maryland. So that was in September of 21, and I was like, all right, heard. So we had to kind of figure out a way to get back to Maryland. I was able to divest all my interest that I had in the businesses in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I didn't, at first we didn't really know what we were going to do, but at the end of the day, it's like, you can't live in Maryland and run these businesses. I was the COO. like you got to be in the businesses.
You got to be in the businesses. Got to be there.
Yeah, so I just divested my business interest, and luckily when we were coming to Maryland, like I'm looking for anything. I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, gosh, I really don't want to go back to corporate America, but I could have gone back to Nestle.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been like, you know, admitting failure at that point, and so I was looking for like pretty small restaurant and bars to get involved with because I was like, I just need something to generate a little bit of cash, and then I can get down to Frederick and I can start making connections and I can start growing.
Figure it out, yeah.
So the gentleman that was helping us, Dave Bowers, is a commercial real estate guy.
Yeah.
He's Phil Bowers' nephew.
Yep, exactly.
So we're looking at properties. And he's like, I don't know if you'd be interested, but would you ever heard of Brewer's Alley? I'm like, yeah, I've heard of Brewer's Alley. Like, it's like my wife and I's second date was at Brewer's Alley. And
Okay.
I was always, it's funny because we moved from Frederick in 2013. And I was always intrigued because we relocated from Frederick in 2013 when I left Nestle to go work for Treehouse Foods. Because I moved to Erie.
So you guys moved from Rockville up to Frederick.
Yeah,
Okay, so you already had.
Yeah.
So you already kind of knew about. Okay, gotcha.
And I was always just intrigued. I was like, Brewer's Alley, like this thing is like it's
monster,
big,
yeah.
right? It's a monster. And I was like, that'd be like that's a big lift. So long story short, had a lunch meeting with Phil, and I mean I think we kind of hit it off. We spent probably 4 or 5 hours together on a Saturday. You know, talking about Brewer's Alley, walking through Brewer's Alley, lunch, trying to learn about the business and, you know, what Phil envisioned. And then on Sunday we met at Monocacy Brewing Company because there's a little bit of a relationship there.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it was cool. I mean, it felt good about it. And Phil's just I don't think I've ever could say that I've worked with a more, a better person of higher character than Phil Bowers. And, I think that, you know, I didn't even like negotiate the price when we were coming to terms with this. I just said, Phil, I don't know if I can afford to pay that much, but I'll try.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's fair. I think that Phil, you know, I think for Phil, I think that he liked what he saw and he liked the idea that I would continue the legacy that he built. And that was kind of we didn't have documents that agreed to that, but that's what I agreed to because I love Brewer's Alley. It was tremendous about it, and so we got a deal done. Phil's still a minority. I told Phil I wouldn't buy his businesses unless he agreed to stay on as a minority.
Nice.
A minority owner.
Gotcha.
In what the entity is now, so he agreed to do that. And we're still on the phone. Like I see him as a mentor to me. Like I said, I always like to surround myself with really sharp, intelligent, experienced people because that's how the only way to get experience is through experience.
That's true. Yeah.
So we got that deal done, and that was I think we did that in like July or August of 22.
Oh wow. Okay.
And we intentionally did it on a download. Like Phil's always kind of like on a download, but we didn't want. We did it. We could have gone like all marketing and social media about it, but we didn't want to because Brewer's Alley is just a phenomenal brand, and the idea was like we're going to do this deal, but we don't really want anyone to know anything's changed.
Yeah, just leave it.
And so that was kind of the strategy. Similar scenario. The ownership structure is a little bit different with Monocacy Brewing. My wife's actually the majority owner of Monocacy Brewing, and my wife does all of our marketing and design. Not all of it, but a chunk of our marketing and design for all of our brands is kind of her.
Would that
role.
be some of these cans and stuff too?
Some of these labels she's been involved with. We also have Lindsay Hamilton is our taproom manager, who does a phenomenal job with our design work. But a lot of the newer can designs, a lot of it's being done internally through a collaboration of my wife, Lindsay, and then there's another person who's a beer tender who has a degree in graphic design.
Oh, nice.
So we use her. We just packaged this one yesterday. It doesn't actually read great from far away, but this is called Spitfire Red.
Okay.
It's a red ale. This is a girl brew, so with Lindsay and my wife and our beer tenders, like they all get together with our brewer. They came up with the recipe for this beer. They brewed the beer, and so this was actually packaged yesterday.
Oh wow.
So this is probably getting on shelves.
Yeah, I will say the design and art that you guys have on like the new cans and everything, it looked great.
Yep. And then the Brewer's Alley, that's gonna get a little bit of a facelift on the labels of the Brewer's Alley beer.
Is that the Kolsch right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
That's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Some pretty old school.
I like that one though. It's good.
But yeah, that's that's the Spitfire, the Monocacy Spitfire. It's a red ale. It's good. We could maybe try a little about it after we're done
I think we're
chatting.
going to. But so Frederick. So then, when does Bentztown come into play? And then let's go like when's Bentztown come into play? And then, what's your vision for what you're doing? Like it sounds like obviously like you want to do more.
Oh yeah, you always got to be growing. I mean, as a responsible business owner.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that I tell like the
for
key
growing,
team,
you're dying.
I say I mean, I just when I took over Brewer's Alley in 22, I told the team, I said, look, I probably got 25 years left in me.
Yeah.
I said I've got 15 years of relatively aggressive leverage and growth, and then the last 10 years are probably going to be we'll grow a little bit, but it's probably going to be more of a focus on deleverage. Mm-hmm. And I tell the key leadership in our company, I was like, my dream, my vision is I want to sit around a table with you guys at the 25 year mark with the key people, and I've told you where we're going, what we're doing, and I want you guys to have input on where do we go from here? What do you want to do?
Correct.
Because I'm getting out. So
so then going back to like Benz and stuff, how did some of your key people, how did you find Jason? Because I feel like Jason's probably one of the first people I actually really kind of sat down with.
We hired Jason in Erie.
Okay.
So in the restaurants in Erie, he actually lived in the DMV. He lived in Virginia. He was working at True Foods, I think.
And that distributor, True Foods?
No, True Foods Kitchens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that,
Jason's he's the best chef I've ever worked with. And when he came to Erie, we really hit it off. We had a great relationship. He called me I'll say this, right? Running Brewer's Alley, I mean, running any restaurant, I don't care what it is, it's restaurants are a challenging business. I mean, on a really good year, the best you're going to pull out is a 3 to 5% EBITDA. And with the increases in regulations, all the costs just keep going up, and you do everything in your power to do right by your employees. Mm-hmm. And in our business, we always press as hard as we can to try to maintain our pricing on our menu as best as we can, because we're not in this business. We want our guests to always have an opportunity to have a value, and I'll say sometimes it's the most important guest in that restaurant is maybe the guest that chooses to go to Brewer's Alley and they can only afford to do it once a year. Yeah. And I tell the team, I'm like, that's the guest that you got to keep your eye out for, and that's the guest that we want them to walk out of here knowing that, literally raving about their experience. Yeah. Because
I'll be back next year.
That might be the only, obviously with the affordability issues that just continue to get more challenging for us. I mean, those are the folks that we want to do right by everybody, but those small opportunities to really make a difference and show appreciation to someone is huge. But we work so hard on trying to maintain competitive pricing, partner with our purveyors. Going back to Jason, I mean there's so many chefs. There's a lot of chefs out there. Their pride is so high that they will happily go down with the ship because they have such a high degree of pride for whatever is what they do. Jason has the ability to he understands the business aspects of it. Yeah. More importantly, he understands, I think, the people aspects of it. He's a really great communicator. He's a great developer. And Jason's one of those guys, I've got so many different examples of Jason examples when, we are literally on the brink of disaster. And it's like, I make eye contact and I'm like, Jason, I think it's like I joke. I love Michael Jordan. Yeah. And I'll look at Jason. I'm like, I need an MJ moment out of you. Yeah. And he can always find a way. Obviously, you don't ever want to get yourselves in those positions, but they happen. Everyone knows they happen.
Industry, man, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah. So we had a relationship in Erie. He called me one day, kind of out of the blue, and he's just like, "Hey, man," he's like, "I know you got a lot going on down there." He's like, "I think that we're looking to make a change, And you know, I was like, out of respect to the folks you work for, because I know them well.
Yeah.
Just make sure you guys are on board. Like, and I'm like in an HR legal thing right then, because I was like, I feel like I should pick the phone and call. I don't know if I should pick the phone and call because I don't want to, because we didn't have anything done, right?
Yeah,
But I was just like, you work it, make sure we treat them right, and there's a plan. And if you want to come down here, I'll find a position. So I literally created the corporate executive chef position for him.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he's come in and done just
Great things.
a wonderful job, I think, with the business. And it's fun to work with your friends.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. He's great. I don't think they make guys much better than Jason. But yeah, that's how the Jason thing
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
came about. But great guy, and I mean, even our, we have executive chefs. We have an executive chef at Brewers now. We have an executive chef at Bentztown. One of the key things I've learned about this business, my first couple years in this business, is I ran that thing, as lean as possible.
Yeah, thin. Yeah, you have to.
With the stress, and also the stress you put on the team and doing that, I'm kind of looking at it a little differently now. It's like, let's invest as heavily as we can in our people, and let them go do what they're great at. And sometimes, like, when you look at the P&L and the numbers, it's like it's a psychological impact. It's like, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but you kind of have to. You always look at everything as an investment.
That's true.
And thus far, I think it's working out well. I see it every day as our culture improves. I think that, not to digress, but I think one of the most important thing of any business, and hospitality is, I think, probably one of the best examples is just, it's morale and culture and doing right by your people. You got to have. I'll go back to the Anheuser-Busch days, right? I mean, we had good people in Anheuser-Busch. If you're going to surround yourself, if you're going to surround yourself with crappy people, it's going to be a crappy business.
It's going to be a terrible business.
If you choose to surround yourself with great people that are rowing in the right direction and aligned with the mission and the vision where we're going with the business, like, the business will do well.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's a little bit of a gamble, like you're jumping off a cliff, because I take pretty good pride. I mean, I think that with the packages, I'm sure you guys have the same stuff, but I mean, we offer a pretty good compensation package to everyone in our businesses, and try to take care of your people.
Yeah, you have to. And you've brought, bringing Ricky in, like, we've known Ricky from Hooch and then Main Cup, and you're bringing him into Bentztown, like, that's going to help elevate, like, that
Ricky's,
for sure.
He's so passionate about the food, and then Chef Ed.
Oh, Edward. Oh man, we went to those that first one you had. At first, I was like, is he putting this stuff on the menu? I was like, yeah. It was good.
He's a
really
powerhouse, and you see you're not, if you're in the restaurant every day like I am. I mean, it's very rare that I don't step foot in the restaurant on a given day. You feel it. You feel the culture shifting and improving. You see a lot more development going on.
Yeah.
And these guys can execute, man.
Yeah.
Brewer's Alley can go from 0 to 110 like that. I mean, you can have, there's times where, like, the tickets will just, they just don't stop, right?
Yeah.
And I put a lot of, I applaud the management team, the chefs, our line cooks, our dishwashers, our servers, our bartenders, because they know the drill. They know when it's time to go. It's time to go. And that's the beautiful thing about Brewers Alley. That's why a lot of people call it the beast, because it is a beast.
It is.
It makes it it's hard to run any restaurant, but I will say that it makes all the other restaurants that I've ever owned and operated look like they're going in slow motion.
Well, that's good,
So
it means you're making money then. Yeah.
Well, some days, some days not.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, it's good. But yeah, Jason's a great guy, and he's key. He's kind of every leadership, every person that reports to me. I mean, their number one job is to make sure that we're driving a culture that aligns with our mission, which is simply dare to be great. And, dare to be great. My wife would say it's the worst mission statement in the world. I think that if it was like compared to like how you're supposed to write a mission statement, it probably is the worst. But at the end of the day, like, I think this goes into my experience in China, goes into my experience in Anheuser-Busch. You want a business to be made up of people that have the courage to that have the courage to do great things.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of just yes people around you all the
No,
time.
but
No.
going back to the world
Yeah.
that we live in, I think it's easy. I think people can choose to. Everyone chooses to focus on different aspects of their life.
Mm-hmm.
I want people that have a passion for growing themselves and improving themselves,
Correct.
and have the tenacity and the courage to check the box every morning. It's like I want to make this a great day.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, there's a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
And I wish, and I've got friends that are like that, and I respect them. They're good people, but you know what? I don't want them working in my business.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, I want a bunch of winners around me.
Yeah.
But just every day wake up like, let's do this. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to push it. We're going to do the best that we can, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. And
Yeah.
we're going to do it the next day, and we're going to do it again. Yeah, I feel you on that one, 100%. Well, I appreciate you coming out today. I mean, I thought this was very informative. All right. Greg, I appreciate you coming down, and we appreciate what you're doing in the Frederick community.
You too.
Oh, that is good. Tell your wife, great job.
It's a good beer.
That is good beer.
It's real.